Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Betrayal or Not, the channel where one simple doubt can turn into a storm. Was it cheating or not? If you're new here, let me catch you up real quick. Stephanie narrates stories inspired by real-life situations, couples, families, and friendships full of secrets, misunderstandings, and clues that make everyone suspicious. I'm Ryan Cooper, and I'm right here with you on this side of the story, trying to piece together this emotional puzzle to find out if, in the end, there was betrayal or not. And today's story? Oh, it's going to mess with your head. The title is His Brother. Sean and Lindsay are married, but lately, she's been feeling overlooked. Meanwhile, his brother Jeremy is showing up more and more, always. Kind, helpful, maybe a little too helpful. Is it just a caring family bond? Or is there something else? Let's find out together. Betrayal or not? Let's begin.
Portland, Oregon. A city where the trees never stop growing and people ride bikes even when it's pouring rain. That's where Sean and Lindsay Pierce lived, in a quiet residential neighborhood with a 2-story house and a front porch, a golden retriever named Max, and a well-oiled daily routine. Sean, 41, a systems analyst, was a reserved type. Brown hair, hazel eyes, always composed. He liked running early, solving problems with logic, and when he could, long silences. Lindsay, 39, a freelance graphic designer, was his opposite. Creative, talkative, with green eyes that smiled before her mouth did, and a natural warmth that made friends anywhere she went. She was easygoing, but not passive. She knew what she wanted, and rarely hesitated. Their marriage was steady. Not explosive, but not full of fights either. Each had their own space, their hobbies, their rhythm, until Jeremy, Sean's older brother, started showing up more often. Jeremy Pierce, 44, freelance photographer, well-groomed salt-and-pepper beard, piercing blue eyes, and a spontaneous energy that lit up any room. He was usually traveling, but in the past few weeks, he'd been sticking around. The excuse was a local photography project, but he was practically at their place every day, and not just that. There were the casual lunches with Lindsay, the never-ending kitchen chats, the quick coffees that lasted over an hour. Sean wasn't the jealous type, or the dramatic type, but he started noticing the little things. How Lindsay dressed up a little more when she was meeting Jeremy, how she brought up his name in almost every conversation, or how her phone vibrated quietly at night, and how she smiled at the screen. Before turning away, was it just in his head? Maybe. But that Saturday afternoon, Sean was in his home office wrapping up some reports when he heard the front door open. "Hi!" Lindsay's voice rang out, cheerful. He got up and walked into the living room. She was slipping off her coat, chuckling to herself, still holding her phone. "Jeremy's unbelievable," she mumbled, placing the phone on the table. Sean stood by the kitchen doorway, watching. "You two met up today?" he asked, trying to sound casual. She turned, surprised to see him. "Oh yeah, just a quick coffee. He wanted my thoughts on some new shots for his website." "And you didn't think to tell me?" She frowned. "Do I need to tell you every time I grab coffee with your brother?" "No, of course not. It's just felt odd. That's all." She shrugged. "You were busy. Wouldn't have noticed even if I did." Sean didn't respond. He went back to his office, but he couldn't focus anymore. He trusted her. He trusted his brother. But he also trusted his own instincts, and lately, they'd been uneasy. It was a gray Tuesday in Portland. Those low clouds and the ever-present scent of coffee felt like part of the city itself. Lindsay parked in front of a cozy corner cafe where she sometimes liked to work. Jeremy was already there, seated inside, by the window with his laptop open and a cappuccino in hand. She walked in smiling, tucking her hair behind her ear. "You got here early." Jeremy smiled back and stood up to give her a light kiss on the cheek. Didn't want to lose the best seat by the window. Lindsay sat down, took off her coat, and opened her tablet. "All right, show me what you've got planned for this website." As he talked about color palettes, image layouts, and ideas for his new photography portfolio, Lindsay listened closely. Jeremy had that energy, a kind of easygoing excitement that was contagious. They laughed, easily together, joked about fonts, reminisced about childhood, even brought up that one time he almost lost a lens in the sand in Tulum. "You really should write a book with all your chaotic photographer stories," she said, laughing. "Only if you design." "The cover," he shot back, and they clinked their coffee mugs in mock cheers. Jeremy looked at her with calm, steady eyes. "You know, I don't think I've ever thanked you for always being around. You're kind of the peacemaker in this family." Lindsay shook her head. "You're exaggerating." "I'm really not. You balance Sean. You always have." She looked out. The window, not answering right away. That line echoed inside her, lingering longer than she expected. When they got back to work, the conversation flowed naturally. There weren't any lingering touches or intense stares, but there was comfort. And sometimes that's even more dangerous. That night at home, Sean ate dinner in silence while Lindsay mentioned a few updates on Jeremy's website. "You spent the afternoon with him?" he asked, not looking up from his plate. "Yeah," he wanted to go over some ideas and ask for my help. "Nothing major," Sean nodded. "You've been talking to him a lot lately." She looked up. "Are you jealous of your own brother?" He let out a short laugh. "No, I just find it interesting, that's all." She set her fork down. "Look, if this is bothering you, we can talk about it, but don't start with weird insinuations." "I'm not insinuating anything." She sighed and finished her meal in silence. The next morning, Sean went out for a run. Alone. He usually ran with Claire, a childhood friend of both brothers. She'd become part of their regular training routine, but that week, she canceled twice. Said she was swamped with deadlines. Claire had known Jeremy for decades, and she knew Sean better than most people. Sometimes, he felt like she could sense what he was feeling before he even realized it himself. On his way back from the run, he noticed Jeremy's car parked outside the design studio where Lindsay worked. Not a big deal. Jeremy moved around the city a lot. He had friends in every neighborhood, and sometimes he did urban shoots in that area. Still, Sean made a mental note. That night, as they got ready for bed, Lindsay smiled at her phone. "Jeremy just sent me a preview of his portfolio. Want to see?" "Not now," he said, turning away. She turned off the screen. "You've been acting strange. And you've been busy." She didn't respond. The room fell into silence for a while. Then the phone buzzed again. She didn't check the message. Just flipped the phone over, screen down, and turned off the light. Sean kept his eyes open in the dark, listening to her breathing. He had no proof, no confirmation. But he had a gut feeling, and that wouldn't leave him alone. Saturday morning in Portland came with rare sunshine, clear skies, and the perfect temperature for a long run. Sean woke up early, pulled on his favorite running shirt, laced his sneakers slowly, and headed downstairs, still holding on to a bit of hope. Lindsay was still asleep. He paused for a few seconds in the bedroom door, watching her. He wanted to wake her, to ask if she was coming with him, but he didn't. He wanted her to remember on her own. They'd done this every year. It was the kind of thing that shouldn't need reminding. Claire was already in the bleachers when he arrived at the park, leaning lightly on a foldable cane. twisted ankle, she said with an embarrassed smile. But even in a wheelchair, I wouldn't miss this. Sean laughed and thanked her. As subtle as her presence was, it meant a lot, especially today. The race was long, nearly 13 miles through the city streets. Physically, he felt strong, but with every turn, he scanned the crowd, expecting to see Lindsay. In vain. He pictured her showing up late, waving from afar, holding a coffee and flashing that sleepy smile. But she never came. When he crossed the finish line, Sean forced a smile for Claire, took the bottle of water someone handed him, and looked around one more time. Still nothing. She didn't come, did she? Claire asked, trying not to sound too curious. No, I don't think so. That's all he said. By the time Sean got home, the sun was already slipping behind the trees in their backyard. The quiet of the house felt even heavier after the pulse and noise of the race. He walked in, dropped his medal on the side table, and noticed the kitchen had clearly been used. 2 empty mugs in the sink, a napkin with a rough sketch of a layout doodled in pen. The chairs were out of place, and Lindsay's laptop was still open on. The table, tabs filled with design projects and lines of code. Lindsay appeared a few minutes later, all smiles. You're back. Today was super productive. Jeremy stopped by this morning, and we basically revamped his entire portfolio. It looks amazing. You're gonna love it. Sean froze. He was here? Yeah, spent the whole morning. We had coffee, worked out in the garden. It was so peaceful. You had a peaceful Saturday with my brother. While I was running the half marathon I do every single year. She blinked. The race? He couldn't believe what he was hearing. You forgot. Sean, I'm sorry. You were so busy with Jeremy you didn't even remember. That's not it. I thought it was next weekend. He shook his head. No. Lindsay, you didn't think anything. You just didn't care. She stepped closer, trying to soften things. Look, I know how much that race means to you. And I messed up by not being there. But Jeremy always needs something, and you're always there for him. I needed you today too. That's not fair to put on me, she said, getting defensive. Fair? You know what's not fair? Me running alone while my wife spends the day with my brother. He's my brother, Lindsay. Not yours. At least, that's what I thought. I'm your husband. But you spend more time with him, talk more with him, smile more with him. Maybe you should just marry him instead. She stepped back, stunned by his tone. She'd never seen him like this. I'm the one left over, the one always on the sidelines, invisible. Sean's voice cracked with frustration. Lindsay swallowed hard. I didn't mean to hurt you. It's not always intentional, but it's always you and him. You text him during dinner. You spend Sundays with him in the backyard. And when it's me, there's just silence. She stood there, speechless, for a few seconds. You never said any of this before. Because you never asked. Like you even cared, he said, bitter. Sean picked up the race medal from the table and set it on the counter, not roughly, but with weight. I got my best time today. Claire was there. She waited for me, even with her ankle all messed up. But you didn't even remember I was running. Lindsay sat down at the table, stunned. For the first time, she truly felt the weight of what she'd been neglecting. She didn't mean to hurt Sean, but somehow that's exactly what she'd been doing, day after day, and this time, he wasn't swallowing it in silence anymore.
Let's be real. Lindsay forgot her husband's marathon now, but she never forgets her brother-in-law. Texts, calls, meetups, full-on attention. This thing with Jeremy is definitely crossing some lines. And Sean, he held it in for as long as he could, swallowed it all, until he finally exploded. But here's the question. Is he right to be suspicious, or are we seeing this through his eyes? And maybe there's really nothing going on? Yeah. For now, the only thing that's clear is the doubt is only getting stronger.
Sunday passed in silence. Sean had left early without leaving a note. He didn't reply to messages, didn't call. Lindsay stayed home, restless. She knew she'd messed up. She couldn't stop thinking about his outburst the day before. It wasn't just about the marathon. Sean had been screaming for attention, for presence. And she hadn't heard him. Late in the afternoon, Jeremy called. Distracted, she picked up. "Your husband stopped by here," he said, voice casual. "Went to see our parents. Seemed kind of, I don't know, off. Hard to read. He's mad at me. He's a Pierce. He'll get over it. Just needs to cool off." "I hope so." "Speaking of which," Jeremy added, shifting to a lighter tone, "I was thinking, that logo we worked on? It turned out awesome. You got time to keep going on the project? I've got some new shots I want to show you." "I do. Let's plan something." She hung up and stared at her phone for a few seconds. That night, Sean came home. He glanced at her from the doorway and said only, "I'm tired. Going to bed." He didn't wait for a response. Monday morning, he left before sunrise. When she woke up, the bed was already cold. On the table, a pack of protein bars, Sean's usual breakfast lately, still sat unopened. He hadn't even taken it. The day dragged on. Lindsay tried to focus on client projects, but her mind was somewhere else entirely. Things between her and Sean were still off, and she knew the missed marathon still hung between them, even if they weren't talking about it. That afternoon, she met Jeremy at a cafe near the park. They brought their laptops. The idea was to work on branding concepts for a new client he had referred to her. But the work didn't flow the way they expected, for reasons neither of them dared name. "I swear this font is crying for help," Jeremy said. Making a dramatic face at the screen, Lindsay burst out laughing, covering her face. "It really is. Poor thing. Someone get her into therapy." "Helvetica Bold, how do you feel about your negative space?" She laughed again, shaking her head. Jeremy had that light, charming way of making everything feel easier. While he kept talking, she reached out and fixed the cuff of his sleeve. It had rolled awkwardly. Just a casual gesture. "You're impossible," she said, still smiling. "But productive," he replied with a wink. Their eyes met for a beat longer than necessary. Nothing happened. Neither of them moved. But something was there. A subtle electricity, a closeness not everyone would understand. Lindsay looked away, back at her laptop. "Okay, where were we?" Jeremy cleared his throat. "Right, the font, having an existential crisis." She smiled without showing her teeth, moving the cursor again. He rested his arm on the table near hers. It was just work, just coffee, just that. But sometimes, that is what makes everything feel like more than it is. That night, she got home early. She was determined to try, to reclaim what had slipped through her fingers. She made Sean's favorite dish, homemade lasagna with bechamel sauce and crispy parmesan on top. She set the table, lit a candle in the center, and changed clothes. Nothing dramatic, just enough to show she was making an effort. He got home around 8. "You're cooking?" he said, surprised by the smell as he walked in. "Yeah, I'm trying the culinary diplomacy route." He dropped his briefcase on the counter and looked at her. "It's my favorite." "I know." They ate in silence for a few minutes. Then she took a breath and spoke. "About Saturday. I messed up, really. It's not just about forgetting. The marathon, I realized I've been distant, and that it's hurting you. That's not fair." Sean looked down at his plate, thoughtful. "It's not just about that, Lindsay. I know, and I want to do better." Her phone, left on the counter, buzzed 3 times in a row. Messages from Jeremy. They both instinctively glanced at it. She stood, turned the sound off, and came back to the table. "Tonight is just about you," she said, placing her hand on his. "And I don't want to lose us." He gave a small, hesitant smile. "Me neither." She leaned in and kissed him. Slowly. He didn't pull away. After a few seconds, he kissed her back. The tension between them dissolved in the warmth of that touch, in what was said through eyes and hands and closeness. Lindsay led him to the bedroom without saying much more. Hours later, Sean was fast, asleep. His face relaxed, the moonlight casting soft shadows across his features. Lindsay rolled carefully in bed and grabbed her phone. 4 unread messages. The first 3 were project notes. The last one said, "See you tomorrow?" She stared at the screen for a few seconds, then typed slowly, "Absolutely." She smiled just slightly and turned off the light.
Okay. Lindsay really tried this time. She made Sean's favorite meal, apologized, even took him to bed. She seemed sincere, right? But then, that final scene. Her husband, fast asleep. And she's there, smiling at her phone, replying to her brother-in-law, "See you tomorrow, guys?" What is going on here? Is it just friendship, gratitude, or is there something deeper in this connection between Lindsay and Jeremy? Because, let's be honest, it's not every day a wife ends the night with her husband and already confirms a meeting with his brother. Stick around. This story is far from over.
It was Friday night, and the house smelled like comfort food. Lindsay had gone all in on a classic American dinner: crispy Southern-style roasted chicken, mashed potatoes with rich gravy, buttery corn, and coleslaw. The kind of meal meant to soothe, or at least try. Jeremy arrived right on time at 7:30, but he wasn't alone. Beside him stood Claire Jensen, wearing a classy olive green dress and a soft sparkle in her eyes. "Hope you guys don't mind," Jeremy said casually. Claire's basically family. Figured it'd be nice. Sean, a little surprised, gave a polite smile. "Of course. Come in." Lindsay, on the other hand, felt a small knot twist in her stomach. During dinner, the conversation flowed, maybe a little too much. Claire was charming, full of stories, and her easy laugh made Jeremy smile back every time. Lindsay noticed every little gesture. At one point, Sean joked, "Remember that time in Vegas, when you two disappeared for 3 days and came back all tanned and mysterious?" He chuckled. "At least you didn't come back married." Lindsay froze, fork midair. "Wait, what?" Jeremy raised an eyebrow, surprised. "You didn't know? We had a thing. That trip was kind of an escape from reality moment." Claire gave a soft laugh, trying to keep it light. "Nothing serious. We were just having fun. No rings, no promises. That was over 20 years ago." "Oh, sure. Just super fun disappearing with someone for 3 days," Lindsay said, her tone sharp. Jeremy quickly changed the subject, but the discomfort had already settled in. Up until then, Lindsay had just been slightly suspicious of Claire's presence. But now she felt something else. Jealousy. But was it jealousy of Claire? Or for Jeremy? Later that evening, after Sean went out to take out the trash and Claire stepped away to use the bathroom, Jeremy and Lindsay were left alone in the kitchen, clearing dishes. "You could have told me about you and Claire," she said, voice low. Jeremy sighed. "It was a long time ago, Lindsay, and honestly, I don't go around listing every person I've slept with. Do you want me going around telling people about us?" She turned to him, eyes flashing. "You're such an asshole." "And you're very invested for someone who's just my sister-in-law. Not serious, just fun. Isn't that what you always say?" She took a step toward him, angry. "What, you want to hit me now?" "Go ahead," Jeremy said flatly. She shoved him, furious. But he grabbed her wrist, firm, steady, his eyes dared hers, and then he kissed her. Lindsay resisted, for a second. But just one. The kiss turned into something else. Pent-up desire, buried rage, raw attraction. She clutched the back of his neck, and the kiss exploded into fire. That's when the kitchen door slammed open. "What the hell is this?" Sean was standing there, frozen. His face caught somewhere between shock and heartbreak. Lindsay jumped back. Jeremy said nothing. Sean stared at them like he was seeing two complete strangers. "In my house. You two. I don't believe this." Claire appeared in the hallway, alarmed. "Sean? What's going on?" She stopped cold when she saw them. 4 people, 1 moment. And a tension so thick it couldn't be cut with a knife. Jeremy lowered his gaze. Lindsay looked pale, and Sean, his voice choked, repeated, "I can't believe what I just saw."
Whoa! Well, that escalated fast. What started out as an innocent dinner, 4 people at the table, some unresolved history, a bit of tension in the air, and suddenly, boom. The truth explodes right there in the kitchen. Jeremy and Lindsay, in Sean's house, and Claire, witnessing it all. But wait, did you catch that look on Lindsay's face? She didn't cry. She didn't run. She looked Sean right in the eye. No panic, no excuses. And let's be honest, based on that heated exchange, they've been sleeping together for a while now. Just fun? Yeah, sure. I know how that goes. The damage is done. And this time, there's no hiding it.
The silence was thick, like smoke. For a moment, no one moved. Lindsay stood there, arms crossed, eyes locked on Sean, as if bracing herself to keep from falling apart. "Let's drop the act," she said, voice steady. "I'm done with this." Claire instinctively took a step back, sensing what was coming. Jeremy looked from Lindsay to his brother, confused. Then Lindsay turned to Sean. "Don't be a hypocrite. You think I don't know you've been sleeping with her?" She gestured toward Claire, without breaking eye contact. "For a while now, so don't come at me like you're some saint. You started this." Jeremy's eyes widened. "Wait, Sean and Claire? Are you serious?" "Yes." "The 2 of them," Lindsay replied, calm as ever. Sean opened his mouth, but she held up a hand. "Don't even try to deny it. I've seen you, and I have proof, if you want it." Claire let out a strained breath. "Oh gosh, this is humiliating." "If you can do it, so can I," Lindsay said, not blinking. Jeremy let out a low whistle. "Wow, hot," he muttered with a half-smile. "Shut up," Sean snapped, turning on him. "You do realize you're my brother, right? And you're sleeping." "With my wife! I can't believe you! How could you do this?" Jeremy raised his eyebrows. "You mean like you did with Claire when we got back from Vegas?" Sean stepped forward. "That was different. You weren't married to her. It was just a fling." "I actually liked her," Jeremy said, more serious now. "I could have married her in Vegas. She's the one who made it clear she didn't." "Want anything serious?" "What?" Claire and Lindsay said at the same time. Jeremy held up his hands. "But that's ancient history. I haven't touched Claire since Vegas. And I didn't even know you two were a thing," he added, looking at his brother. Lindsay let out a quiet breath, almost like relief. Then she turned to Sean. "And you? Do you have feelings for Claire? Beyond the sex? Just be honest?" Sean looked at her, then at Claire, who dropped her gaze. He took a deep breath. "Yes, we have a lot in common. And, yeah, there's the sex, but it's not just that. But I still love you, Lindsay. I really do." She nodded slowly. "Thanks for being honest, Sean. I love you too. I'm also in love with your brother. This time, both Sean and Jeremy said it in unison. In love? Jeremy smirked. That explains a lot. Lindsay smacked his arm. Don't be so full of yourself. She paced the room for a moment, collecting her thoughts. Then she stopped by the window and spoke. This conversation is going nowhere, so let's be practical. Sean, we've got 3 options. She held up one finger. Option 1, we get divorced. Everyone stays with their respective lover and moves on. Second finger. Option 2, we stay married, but open the relationship. Each of us does what we want, with whoever we want. Obviously with some agreed-upon rules. Third finger. Option 3, we stay married and stay faithful. But just a heads up, I don't like that one. Because, let's be real, neither of us is doing a great job at monogamy. The silence returned, not heavy like before, but now filled with unsettling clarity. Sean looked at his wife, shocked by her bluntness. Claire and Jeremy exchanged glances and started to back away, realizing this was a decision the couple had to make. But Lindsay stopped them with a gesture. No. Stay. This involves you too. You're part of this. Jeremy sighed and sat back, down on the arm of the couch. Claire remained standing, arms crossed, still visibly uncomfortable. Lindsay turned back to her husband. So, Sean, what's it going to be? The question hung in the air like a sentence. Sean's face was tense, torn between anger, guilt, and maybe something else. But he didn't answer. Not yet.
Whoa. Hold up. Sean and Claire were hooking up this whole time? That changes everything. We were all focused on Lindsay and Jeremy. And then, out of nowhere. Boom. Sean had already crossed the line way before any of this. But you know what's even more shocking? It wasn't the cheating, it was Lindsay's proposal. 3 options, 3 completely different paths for their marriage. And she laid it out like a spreadsheet. Calm, collected, and honestly, a little terrifying. I don't know about you, but I need to know what Sean's going to decide. Because whatever it is, there's no turning back.
Sean paced the room, restless. He ran a hand through his hair, stared at the ceiling, sighed. Not in a million years did he think he'd be standing in front of a decision like this. They were all there, Claire, Jeremy, Lindsay, and he was, stuck in the middle, pulled in 2 directions by the same heart. He stopped and looked at Claire with softness in his eyes. Claire, what do you think about all this? Claire, who had been mostly quiet until now, looked at him with honesty. Sean, I can't make this decision for you. I know, I'm not asking that. I just want to know how you feel about it, he said gently. She took a deep breath. I don't like the third option either. I don't want to lose you, she said firmly, without drama, just truth. Lindsay crossed her arms and spoke with a teasing smile on her lips. Oh, come on, Sean. This woman loves you. Who else would watch you run a race on a twisted ankle if she didn't care? And she's not even a trainer. She went just to be there with you. Sean couldn't help but laugh. She had a point. Claire didn't have. To be there that day. But she was. And it had meant something. So, you'd be okay with the other 2 options, as long as it's not the third? Sean asked Claire, trying to understand. Claire nodded. I know I came into this as the other woman, Sean, and I know it's wrong. I'm not proud of it, but I really did care about you, and I still do. I knew you wouldn't leave your wife, but even so, I wanted to try. You still want me? After all of this? He asked, surprised by how calm she was. I do. And if you decide to be with just me, I'll accept that. But I also know you love Lindsay. And honestly, I'm okay with that too. We can figure out our own rules. If that's the road you choose, she said, looking into his eyes. Sean smiled. You women are way more practical than we are. He turned to Jeremy, who was watching it all like he was at a live theater performance. And you, Jeremy? Well, I won't even ask. I'm sure you're thrilled at the idea of continuing to sleep with my wife. Obviously, Jeremy replied, with that signature smug tone. Even Claire cracked a laugh. It was surreal, but somehow, it was working. All right. Option 2 it is, Sean declared, with a weird sense of relief. We stay married, open relationship, but with rules. We'll test it out, see if it works. And honesty is non-negotiable. Otherwise, it all falls apart. Lindsay smiled, relaxing for the first time that night. You just became husband of the year, she joked, and everyone burst into laughter. Later, after Jeremy and Claire left, Sean and Lindsay sat down together to lay it all out. They even spoke with a lawyer to see if there was any way to put a legal agreement in writing. But more importantly, they made a verbal and emotional commitment to respect the boundaries they'd set. One of the biggest rules was crystal clear. Neither wanted to see the other with their lovers. No kisses, no sex in sight. Their worlds had to stay separate, even if only symbolically. Days later, Jeremy kept working and having fun with Lindsay, museums, cafes, little outings. Meanwhile, Sean and Claire ran together on weekends, watched art films, cooked elaborate meals. Claire's aesthetic sensibility paired surprisingly well with Sean's analytical mind, and with her, he felt truly seen. And yet, it was still Lindsay he shared a bed with, made plans with, split grocery bills with, and sat in silence beside when neither of them had the words. Strangely enough, the marriage seemed to be working better. Sean and Lindsay looked at each other more, listened more. Even the sex had a different energy. It wasn't just the desire, it was the honesty. The taboo was gone. And with it, the need to pretend. They knew this wasn't a magic solution. They were fully aware that this kind of setup wasn't for everyone, and maybe not forever. But for now, it was working, and that was all that mattered. Because in the end, life's too short to live by someone else's rules.
Wow, that was a bold choice, huh? And let's be real, this kind of decision, definitely not for everyone. But hey, if it works for them, that's what matters. I just keep thinking, could all this drama have been avoided with one honest conversation before the betrayal started? Probably. But anyway, today we witnessed something rare. Everyone betrayed someone. Everyone got exposed. And in the end, they reached an agreement and decided to try an open relationship. Very modern. I'm not judging. Personally, I'm a one-partner kind of guy. Monogamy works for me, but hey, as long as no one's being lied to or hurt, live the life that makes sense to you. That's it for today's story. One wild roller coaster of twists, confessions, and emotional chaos. If you're enjoying these stories, you already know. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell, and don't forget to drop a comment over. On the community tab, just no spoilers, please. And of course, check out the next suggested video and don't miss the upcoming episode, where the question still is, was it betrayal or not? See you next time.